Madison.
Let's head out to D.C. Here is Wisconsin head coach Greg Gard.
Telling me with a lot of experience. But for me to be here for my first media day, I've had a lot of introductions or reintroductions to staff members around the league and throughout the media, and it's been very enjoyable for me. I'm kind of the new kid on the block as we go through this. So obviously only about 8 or 9 days into practice. I think we've gotten off to a good start, and obviously having this much experience back helps to help educate our younger players, have our older guys show them the way of how we do things, reestablish some of the things that have made our program so good over the years, and understanding what our core principles have been, and just really brushing up on those things and understanding how important the fundamentals have been to us on both ends of the floor, offensively and defensively, and then continue to develop, individually. I think we've gotten better over the offseason physically. Our skill levels improved, some players that needed to take steps forward, and now it's a matter of putting that all together in terms of obviously in small groups. We've done very little 5-on-5 so far, but said excited for what this season's going to bring. What the anticipation level and the excitement in Madison is extremely high, and we're looking forward to the challenge that will lie ahead.
Thank you, Coach. We'll open it up for questions. Let's go 4 rows back on the aisle, left-hand side.
Hi, Coach. Pete DePremio, Fort Wayne News Sentinel. If you can I know it's very early, but kind of maybe assess the way you think the Big Ten would be, the challenges that's going to present from an overall team competitive standpoint.
Yeah, well, our staff was talking about that the other day in the coaches' locker room. We were kind of going team by team. In fact, I had to have our managers go to the local bookstore and buy me all those preseason magazines because I had to read up on the other teams. I had totally blocked that out in terms of who was coming back, who was, who they had added, those type of things. So I was reading that on the airplane out here. But the one thing is, our 3 assistants were talking to me about this team, that team, this team. I said, guys, it sounds just like the last 15 years. It's going to be a fist fight all the way through it. And it doesn't matter who you play, where you play them, when you play them, you're going to have your hands full. And I think that's what's made this league so good for so long. Way back to when I watched it growing up as a kid in Wisconsin, the battles night in and night out across the league. And obviously it's only grown from there with the expansion and how teams and programs have grown over the years. So I don't know if you single out any one team and say this or that. Obviously there's some traditional powers that have been there for a long time. There's some emerging ones, but also understanding, having gone through it for 15 years, you better lace them tight when it comes to league play, because if you half-step, no matter where, no matter when, you're going to end up, on the short end of the stick, so to speak. So that's the unique thing about this league, is night in and night out, the fan bases, the arenas you play in, how competitive it is, how good the coaching is, how good the players are. There's not a single, I use the term, there's no get well games. There's not a game where you can show up and work on some things. You better be bring your A game all the time.
Let's go right next to him, left side.
Don Marcus from Baltimore Sun. Can you talk about the difference in dealing with expectations coming in this year as the head coach? And obviously Wisconsin has always had those kind of expectations, but is it different for you and also for somebody like Nigel Hayes as preseason player of the year?
Well, I think the nice thing about having expectations is that it's a great reflection on the tradition of the program. And as you mentioned, Wisconsin has always had high expectations for quite a while now, and our players are used to that. They're used to that culture and what the expectations are, and the expectations on the outside will never surpass what's on the inside, and those guys have in that locker room and what they expect and what they want to accomplish. So from that standpoint, you know the most important piece of trying to embrace or attack these expectations are your 17 players in the locker room and what they understand and what they want and what their goals are. So for me, it hasn't changed anything, because it won't change our process. It won't change how we practice, what we need to work on, what we need to improve upon. We embrace the expectations. It's like I said, it's a great mark not only on our current players that are returning, but also the reputation that our program has developed within the league and nationally. So you embrace those things and understand that it's going to be a long process. It's going to be a journey through it, and we're going to have to play extremely well and continue to improve along the way. And that's what we've talked about. Are we going to make sure we're better today than we were yesterday, and so forth down the road? But understanding it will be a process. Just like we got out of the 1-4, 9-9 hole last year, it was about trusting a process and making the most of every single opportunity. And we have to make sure we don't waste any days this year. I've talked a lot about check every box, make sure we did everything the right way in September. We're in the process of trying to do everything the right way every day in October, and that'll be a building process as we go through the season. And I think if you embrace that and you attack it that way, then you don't have any regrets, and you don't play woulda, coulda, shoulda in your mind as you look back in February or March, and just embrace the journey and understand there's going to be some ups, there might be some downs, but approach it that way. And when you get to the end, you can look back and say, you know what, I left it all on the table, and we'll live with what happens.
Let's go on the aisle, left-hand side.
Greg, Adam Jardy, Columbus Dispatch. You've had Nigel and Bronson who have been outspoken in some social issues, and I know you've had conversations with them. I just wonder what those conversations are like with players, how you advise them on what you'd like to see, and what sort of actions you like to see them take going forward.
Well, I think the first thing is when you sit down, both individually and as a team, we've talked about it as a team a few times as well. Why are you taking the stance that you are? What is your knowledge base behind it? What is it? Why is it important to you? And anybody can make a statement. Anybody can take a position. But to have the knowledge and watch the knowledge and those two individuals grow and develop, and as I met with both of them, the depth and the broadness of their understanding of issues is mind-blowing at times. I'm extremely proud of them from a standpoint of they've used their college experience to go way beyond just being an athlete. And they've used that to expand their knowledge base. They use the platform to try to help others. And that's the one thing as we've gone through when, for example, Bronson sat down and talked about going to North Dakota. Okay, understand what are the ramifications? What's the cause and effect? And the same thing with Nigel. What could happen in 12 hours, 12 days, 12 months? Just understand let's think all this through. And we support you. No matter what you want to do, we'll support you, and I applaud them for taking their stances and what they've done, because they've been a very educated decision behind it. But also at the same time, as I mentioned, everybody can take a stand, but are you going to put some action behind it? Everybody can point out what the problem is. What can we do to make this be a part of the solution? And in both those individuals' cases, Bronson obviously went to North Dakota and spent a weekend out there and drove out 12 hours and spent the time with people that are sitting in at the pipeline and protesting there. And Nigel has been very involved now in the Boys and Girls Club and going to speak to youth groups in Madison. So both have obviously made a statement with words, but also are putting actions into place to help make a difference and to try to help those that are coming behind. And I mean, that's what's always talked about. Can you make it better for those that come behind you and make it better for them than what you had it? And I think both of those individuals have used personal actions behind their statements to make things better. And that's what you're proud of, that they've, like I said, they've really embraced the whole student-athlete experience and gone well beyond them just wearing that uniform.
Time for one or two more questions for Coach. Let's go on the right-hand side, all the way on the side.
Hi, Coach. Jake Zimmerman, WOZN in Madison. How you doing?
Good.
Did you have any time to reflect, I guess, on what a whirlwind last year was like for you, and how much are you looking forward to now? Obviously, first full year as head coach. No big changes now this year around.
Right. I think there's been moments of reflection. I think as you prepare for this year, you look back, whether it's game film, whether it's things in your notes that you come across that I made throughout the season, and you try to reflect and put your plan together for this year, whether it's through the summer or into this fall, of how I want to plan practices and where I think the team needs to grow and expand. You look back at some things that were happening, and it was such a whirlwind. That's a word that's appropriately used in describing the last 12 or 18 months for me. So you're very appreciative of all those people that have stepped up to help you and offer your support along the way. And sometimes, like I said, you're flying through it so fast, and you have so much support around you that you kind of maybe not forget to acknowledge, but you maybe are a little blinded sometimes when you're so locked in on the season of what's going on, the perimeter around you, and you look back a little bit and you can see a little more clear what was actually happening during that time. The support I've had through this whole transition, from our administration to our coaching staff to our team to my immediate family and people around us, has been nothing short of exceptional. So that's what you look back, I think, as you see some of those moments and remember some of those moments where you maybe see a huddle with somebody standing by you, see a shot from a game with somebody standing in the background, and that, I think, allows you to reflect and recall some of those moments that maybe you were flying by so fast and you were so laser focused on the season at hand that you maybe were a little, you had a little blurry vision in terms of what was in the periphery around you. And sometimes that happens as a coach. You get so locked in on what's going on. But it was obviously a special time. I've said many times it's been the best year and the worst year of your life rolled together with everything that went on with us personally, with our dad, my dad passing away. But you ride the roller coaster and you try to make the best of it, and you're very thankful and appreciative of those people that help you through those times.
Time for one more question. Seeing none, thank you, Coach. Good luck.
All right, thank you.